Well, welcome everyone to our first Tune In Tuesday of 2023. We're very excited you're able to join us today. My name is Jessica Pierce. I am a Senior Site Manager at NCJ-FCJ, and I will be your host for our webinar today. This year for our Tune In Tuesday series, we are going to be highlighting different parts of the research that we got from the JDTC guidelines study. Now, the JDTC guidelines study wrapped up at the end of 2020, and then last year, or end of 2021, and then last year, folks kind of synthesized all of the findings. And what we found is that juvenile drug treatment courts actually really do work as compared to traditional court for kids who need substance use treatment and also really some strong delinquency interventions. And so what we know is that our programs work pretty well when they follow the guidelines. There are certain parts of the guidelines and certain practices within courts that really can elevate your practice and make you even more effective with kids. And one of those findings was that, the importance of adults in young people's lives, of caring adults in young people's lives. And so for our Tune In Tuesday series, for this first one, we want to talk about how to get more caring adults into the lives of the young people you're working with. And so we're going to highlight actually the mentoring program, the Natural Helpers program that Montgomery County, Ohio does. They've done this for a long time. It's really robust. They have lots of checks and balances in place, lots of different ways to get volunteers. And so they're going to talk to us about their program today. And we hope that you'll be inspired to think about how you can find caring adults to participate with your young people. Now, I should let you know, as I do every Tune In Tuesday, that this is, we're a federally funded project, and nothing that you're going to hear today is an official position of the federal government or of the National Council of Juvenile and Family Court Judges. And so that is our typical disclaimer. All right, so with that said, I am going to turn things over to our faculty who are going to jump right into talking about the program there in Montgomery County. So I will turn it over to you.
All right, fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone, or maybe morning, depending on where you might be. I just want to introduce myself really quickly. I'm Eric Schaefer. I'm the court administrator at Montgomery County Juvenile Court, which is in Dayton, Ohio. I've been at this for quite a while, almost 29 years. And during my career, I've been able to do a number of different things, starting as a probation officer and doing a number of different positions in our court. I have a master's degree from the University of Dayton in counseling, as well as in my past have done a significant amount of teaching, as well as worked as a substance abuse counselor. So done a number of things and excited to talk with you guys today about one of our programs that we've always been really excited about. So before I kind of jump in, I'll throw it over to Kim and she can say hello real quick.
Hello and good afternoon or good morning. I'm Kim McGurk. I'm the Volunteer Services Program Manager for Montgomery County Juvenile Court. Been a social worker for almost 27 years. And my range of experience throughout my career has been mostly working with children from, the first days of their lives. And then also, all the way working with families and adults. Even adults in their last days of their lives in nursing homes. But a lot of my career has been spent working with children and families. And I have a passion for finding great opportunities for families, resources, and I enjoy, seeing folks experience their strengths and, broadening their resources. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a little bit of our plan today is I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of our community and kind of where this project got started, but the bulk of this is going to be covered by Kim, and she's going to get into the nuts and bolts of our program so that you'll kind of be able to understand how we recruit, train, and match what we call natural helpers, otherwise adult mentors. So we'll kind of jump right in. we're going to give you an overview of our natural helper program, and you'll see that it is very strength-based, very activity-oriented. The idea is we need to help build relationships with kids so that they can have positive influences in their lives kind of across the board, not just with staff, but with our natural helper program as well. When you take a look at Montgomery County, like I mentioned, we are Dayton, Ohio. In Ohio, we're a county-run state, so we're not governed by our capital, Columbus, but each county operates on their own. There are 88 counties in Ohio, and in Montgomery County, Dayton, Ohio is the county seat. We have a lot of police jurisdictions in Montgomery County, 31. 9 of those are townships and 5 villages, but the main police department and law enforcement that we work with would be our sheriff's office, as well as the City of Dayton Police Department. The population of Dayton or Montgomery County is about 540,000, and we're the 5th largest county in the state of Ohio. Some of the other ones are where Cleveland is, Cincinnati, Columbus. So we sit at the 5th largest. When you take a look at our demographics, we are 73% Caucasian, and I don't need to read all this to you, but a fairly kind of standard balance, I would think, in terms of how our population looks. In Montgomery County Juvenile Court, we have 2 judges. There you see pictured Judge Helen Wallace and Judge Julie Bruns. Some of you on the call may know Judge Anthony Capizzi. He's been around for a while and been involved with the National Council on many different levels. He retired in December, and Judge Julie Bruns took his seat through the county election. So these are our current 2 judges. In our court, we have 10 magistrates. We hear a number of different kinds of cases in Montgomery County, obviously delinquency and unruly offenses, but also we are responsible for abuse, neglect, and dependency cases, as well as private custody and child support cases for parents who have children that are unmarried. So we process about 16,000 cases annually, and of those cases, about 4,000 of them are our delinquent and unruly kids. We have about 450 staff at our court, and we process a number of different things, including we have a very robust intake center called the Intervention Center that's open 24/7. That's basically our probation intake, and we're screening every kid that comes to our attention to determine if that case is eligible for diversion, where we offer a number of diversion services, or if that case is going to become an official case with a complaint filed. Those folks in our intervention center are making those decisions. In those diversion cases, we are managing a lot of them on short stays of supervision and have an avenue to our natural helper program that Kim will cover. In our intervention center, they're also making a decision which pathway the youth should go. Should they be detained? Should they be released on a detention alternative? Or should they be just released to their parents? We are a juvenile detention alternative initiative county and have been for about the last 12 years, creating a number of different opportunities for kids that would have typically been detained. Our court also obviously runs a very significant probation services department with about 400 kids on probation. A number of those kids on probation are connected to the natural helper program. It's also important to know that in our court, we operate 2 external facilities. One is similar to a group home, which is an open setting residential facility. And then we also have a secure facility out on the west side of our county where we are housing felony offenders, both boys and girls, and offering evidence-based programming to them while they're with us in a secure environment. So as a result, we send very few kids to the state prison system because we have an extensive continuum of services available to the kids that come to our attention. So that's kind of our court in a nutshell. I want to talk a little bit about how our mentoring program got started. It's had a number of different names, but it started out with a grant from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation called the Reclaiming Futures Project. Reclaiming Futures initially was a 10-site grant opportunity that was a multi-year grant. The basis of the grant was to develop kind of a continuum of services for kids who were having substance use disorder and making sure that they got very good screening, assessment, and then linkage to treatment, depending on what level of treatment they needed. We enhanced that grant significantly by saying we need to infuse pro-social adults in kids' lives and giving them opportunities to build relationships with these pro-social adults. So a big part of our grant with Reclaiming Futures was to build the Natural Helper program that you're going to hear a lot about today. In that Reclaiming Futures grant, we decided to survey the community. We wanted to know, were people willing to work with kids who are involved in juvenile justice? We kind of had some mixed results anecdotally, so we wanted to actually do a survey of some of our communities, and overwhelmingly the results were absolutely we would volunteer to work and be mentors for kids. Significantly, the survey told us that they wanted to mentor kids in their own neighborhoods, which I think was very insightful. So we purposely recruit in the city of Dayton and in other places to try to find natural helpers that are kind of right around the corner, if you think about it that way. Within the Reclaiming Futures project, there were a number of fellowships that were developed that helped do this work. There was a fellowship of judges from all of those sites, basically probation staff, or what we call the Juvenile Justice Fellowship. There was a treatment fellowship for the folks who were offering substance abuse treatment as well as mental health treatment. And then most importantly, there was a fellowship of community stakeholders. That was very important in building a natural helper program that we have today, because you have to be willing to go to the community to ask for community members to volunteer and work with kids. A big question that we get is, how do you sustain this? Because Kim's going to talk about, we have 3 or 4 staff that are working this program and working with volunteers and doing training and doing recruiting every day, full-time employees of the juvenile court. This was originally funded through this Robert Wood Johnson Foundation grant. And I think we were able to get 10 years of funding from that grant to basically build this program. In Montgomery County, we also have a combined human service levy that's voted on and paid for through taxes that we're able to use in a number of different areas. And that is how we currently fund the Natural Helper program. Now, there's a lot of activities that we do with kids and families, and we want to provide pro-social opportunities. So we at Montgomery County have a very unique opportunity in that we have created a 501c3 juvenile court foundation. The juvenile court employees are able to give through payroll deduction. We also have a golf outing and do some other fundraisers that don't involve our judges, that give us the opportunity to support going to ball games or to the theater or to whatever that may be, where our staff can access these funds to support kids and families. So that really helps us to build opportunities for the kids involved in the Natural Helper program. Okay, so that's kind of the overview of our court, how we got things started, where the funding comes from. So with that, I'm going to kick this over to Kim, and she'll kind of get into some of the nuts and bolts of how the program operates.
Great, thank you. And throughout this presentation too, I'm going to be sharing some pictures of some of the activities that we participate in, and as well as some of the collaboration that we have with different area programs, agencies, and even some of our corporations that have helped out. Next slide, please. So just to go over our program goals, and these are goals that we have developed, very simple goals, but really mean a lot to our youth and families. But we want to provide an accountable and consistent support system for our youth. That's huge for us. Support and that wraparound system for that youth. We want to be an anchor of safety and stability for that youth, and not only for that youth, but also, the families as well. And to also provide pro-social opportunities and experiences in the community. We are finding that when we do these activities, we hear a lot from our youth that, hey, I've never been to this place, or I've always, wondered, how to do this, but now I know, and I'm going to come back and bring my mom next time or something like that. So next slide. So who we serve, of course, our youth are those who are court involved, and typically the ages are from 10 to 18. And as you know, in our juvenile justice system, sometimes you get those youth that are younger than 10, and those are our most crucial ages of kids that we need to do some wraparound and figure out what's going on with that home and with those youth. So we have seen as young as 8 or 9 that come through our program. Next. So our team, like I said, it's kind of like a wraparound type approach to this youth. But of course, we have our judges, Judge Wallace and Judge Bruns, our court staff, probation services, intervention center, like Eric had mentioned, treatment providers, community stakeholders who we reach out to when it comes time to maybe provide an activity or work with a youth and their families. We have our volunteer services staff. And when I say volunteer services staff, that is our natural helper staff as well. Important, we have our natural helpers, and I'm going to go in and discuss how we recruit our natural helpers and who they are really. Our parents, and last but definitely not least, are our youth that we are serving. Our mission is to create positive futures with our court involved youth and families, and building community solutions. So, getting involved and turning that opportunity for that youth into a positive one. Just because they're court involved doesn't mean that we can't provide them, some good opportunities to learn about their community. Next. So what's a natural helper? Natural helpers is simply this. They're caring individuals who provide support and encouragement to youth and families and connect them with opportunities and services designed to bring about positive life changes. I always get that question, well, who are you looking for? What kind of person could volunteer to be a natural helper? And we always tell them, what can you bring to the table? What is your career like, or what passions do you have? What kind of things motivate you? And we move that up with that support and encouragement throughout their life. Next. So I'm going to go into the actual program and some of the things of how we run the program. I'm going to talk about recruiting. That's a big thing. If we don't have those natural helpers, we don't have a program. Some of our expectations when it involves what we expect out of the not only the natural helper and the youth, but also what can they expect from us for support from our program staff. I'm going to talk about the matching process and how important it is, the timeline of a matching process and how important that is. Confidentiality, and I know, I'm talking to, judicial staff, so you guys already know about confidentiality, but our natural helpers are folks from the community, and so we definitely need to hone in on that and train that aspect. Also boundaries. Again, boundaries is a big thing that we want to make sure that we incorporate in our program, because we are developing relationships with our youth, but we have to make sure that what we're developing and how we're developing it are appropriate. And then also just go into a couple more policies that we have that we incorporate into our program, and how things that you don't think about when you're starting a program like this you want to make sure that you touch upon when you're starting a program. Next. So our recruiting our natural helpers, where do you recruit? The answer is anywhere. You want to look at, we've been looking at colleges. A lot of our natural helpers are maybe wanting to look into a social service field, or a field that is wanting to work with people who are in need. So college students is a good opportunity to talk to. We have 4 colleges within this area that we can recruit from, and we find that even though that generation, the youth and the young adults in colleges, a lot of them still want to give back, and we certainly appreciate that, their time and effort. Community groups, we've gone to neighborhood associations, we've gone to Kiwanis Club. We were in Kiwanis Club today, giving a presentation about where we are, who we are, and who we need for as volunteers. Churches, we have gone to churches, and especially our local churches. We go right here in our neighborhoods to make sure that we are not only looking for recruiting opportunities, but we want to educate folks that here we are and this is what we're doing in your community. Again, I said natural or neighborhood organizations, and
Kim,
also
can I jump
chamber.
in? Can I
Sure,
jump in real
definitely,
quick?
anytime.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
guys, I
Eric.
can't help myself from jumping in. Maybe it's because
Yeah,
I'm old, so I apologize, Kim. I think
yeah.
churches is something to really give some emphasis to.
Mhm.
Historically speaking, especially before the pandemic, our judges would go to church on Sunday. They would first ask permission, of course. Can I come to your church? And a lot of times pastors would welcome them with open arms. So we would have our volunteer services staff go along with the judge, who would have some time to make a presentation to church members. And then before they could, if they were interested, they could sign up right after service, and then we would engage them the following week. The reason that this is so important is the survey results told us that folks were willing to help, especially in their own community. In Dayton, a lot of our churches, especially in the very urban areas, the folks that are surrounding that church are attending that church. So it is their neighborhood that they care a lot about. So we would receive a lot of success recruiting in churches, and our judges were willing to go to those churches and make the ask. So that one has been our go-to, and I'm excited that we're able to maybe even start doing that again, because we were not doing that through the pandemic.
Yeah, and I should have said that at the beginning. Eric, chime in anytime. You were here at the inception of it, so you can definitely provide some wonderful opportunity of discussion. So the 2 pictures here in this slide is actually we've gone to the different cultural fests. I think the one was the African American Cultural Festival this past summer, and then we also went to the Latino Festival in Dayton this summer. So just getting our name out there and getting the opportunity for folks to learn about our program is big for us. So next slide. So qualifications, I want to go over qualifications for our program, but before I do that, if you can see the slide, it's missing, for some reason, our technology, it's missing a couple of the pixels, but that up there at the top right is actually a QR code. So we have found that folks might lose a business card, they might lose a flyer, but if we give them an opportunity to snap a picture of a QR code, that goes straight to their phone. And this QR code actually goes to a program that we work with called Volunteer Match. And so people could see that at a festival or at a church, sitting on a table, and they can click on that, and that tells who we are, what we do. And the big thing is it asks for their information, and that goes straight to us. So it's easy to click on, and that way folks can get us their information quicker. And on the flip side, we have their information. Emails are great because then we can always follow up with them. So based on our qualifications, definitely need to be at least 18 years old. Some of our youth are in our program are, up to 18. So we don't want to, have any kind of, too close in age. Must be able to show proof of driver's license and car insurance. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but some programs, I know maybe say you can't transport, but we actually encourage, if they have appropriate driver's license, car insurance, and a good background check for traffic, we encourage our mentors to help with transportation. Some of the best conversations I think that folks have ever had, and I know me personally have ever had with a teenager, is when they're sitting to the right of me as I'm driving and going to and from places. Sometimes those are good conversations to have. Definitely must successfully pass a screening in our background check. We have a screening process. They get fingerprinted, just like if you were to get a new job. So we do the background checks, and we do them through our court. We have a 2-part pre-match training program, so they have to complete that. That training program talks a little bit about the court, but also talks about some of the policies and procedures that we have, and also talks about how to engage with the youth. And we even go into a little bit of motivational interviewing. We want folks to respect and relate to individuals from various backgrounds and cultures in a caring and sensitive manner. We want to make sure that our mentors are, able to learn from different backgrounds and cultures. We want that mentor, that natural helper, to have good oral and written communication skills, and also understand that this isn't just a 3-month program, or this isn't just a few weeks here or there. This is a commitment. This is at least 6 months to a year for serving that youth. That youth has had have had folks coming in and out of their lives, with folks having job turnover. Their therapist might not be the same person they had 3 months ago, or their teacher or something like that. We want to make sure that we have someone in their life that is consistent and that is there for the long haul. We want to make sure folks are accepting supervision, training, and evaluation. And I'm going to talk about that here, but we want to make sure that we don't send our natural helpers out and then, not check in with them. We're constantly checking in to make sure that this is a good fit for that youth. Again, make sure you have your own transportation, and want to be able to be dedicated child advocate, and also make sure that they are able to learn, the best possible means for that youth in the system, and also to advocate that youth's needs are being met. Next slide, please. So the screening process for a natural helper, once they're recruited, they do need to complete an application. Our volunteer services staff then does a personal interview. And when I say personal interview, they're actually, interviewing them just like you would for a job. And they're going to ask them some questions regarding their personality, their expectations. We want to make sure that the person that we're recruiting and that we are training to become a natural helper is a good fit for our program. We do ask for 4 references. And again, we do that background check, and then we do the insurance verified check. Our youth referral process. So these are for our youth that are coming into our program. We look at referrals from all avenues of juvenile court. And that could be from our intervention program, which is diversion, 10 and under program, our educational unit. We're also looking at probation, which can include our treatment court and our life court. So all walks of life from Montgomery County Juvenile Court can refer.
And if I could jump in here again, Kim, we purposely tried to develop avenues to natural helpers so that we could find the kids that had the greatest amount of need in this area. As you can imagine, the number of kids far exceeds the amount of natural helpers that we have. So we try to be as strategic as we can in making our matches, and Kim's going to talk about that. But if you think about even in our 10 and under kid program, some of those matches are just vital because they're so young and really in need of a pro-social adult in some scenarios. So we are very thoughtful in how we're matching because we have a select number of pro-social adults to link them with. So you can see that we've developed avenues from almost all over the court, all the way through the continuum of services to be able to get a natural helper.
Yes. So when we're looking at referrals, and criteria, it does look small, but that's because we want to make sure that we aren't excluding anyone that could benefit from our program. So they have to be involved with the court, open to attending activities, and then having a family supportive of the program. Exclusions is youth with maybe a sex offense, violent offenses. If we have a chronic AWOL issue, chronic noncompliance, and then if family's not in agreement for this program, then that is an exclusion. Matching process. So our matching process I would say, is one of the most important things that we do, because if we don't match that person, and not only if we don't match that natural helper with the appropriate youth, or vice versa, then we've failed right off the bat. So our matching process is building that relationship based on that youth's social needs. We look at their strengths, not only the youth strengths, but the natural helper strengths, match their interests. We want to make sure that right off the bat that youth feels like, hey, this is someone I want to learn from. We will match ethnicity if the youth and family prefer. We ask that when we want to make sure that we respect that and have that level of comfort from that youth. Same with gender, and then gender identity if needed.
So Kim, we did have a question I thought was interesting to kind of reiterate how we came up with the name natural helpers. I think the term, when we were first developing the program, the term mentor just made everyone, I believe, think of the, what am I thinking of? It's not the Boys and Girls Club, but it's the
Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Thank you so much. Big Brothers, Big Sisters as immediately what I think folks went to in terms of mentoring, where I think our mentoring is a little more involved than just a couple of activities. You know, obviously some of the youth that we encounter in the juvenile justice system have a large number of needs, and we thought natural helping kind of fit better than just, hey, you're just going to be a mentor-mentee relationship, although that's basically what it is, but we believe it's a little more enhanced. So I hope that's helpful with that question. We purposely did not call them mentors because we didn't want to kind of put a label on what we were attempting to accomplish. I don't know, Kim, is that how you saw that as well?
Yeah, and you're spot on when it comes to we do more than just being a mentor. And I think I discussed it in another slide, but we want to make sure that that natural helper is a part of that youth. We call, you want them to be their cheerleader, but not only their cheerleader, but also to kind of work with the youth's probation officer, maybe the school, the treatment provider, to kind of be that, hey, we're going to hold you accountable. When I talk about that wraparound approach, a natural helper is then becomes a part of that team for that youth to help them not only to succeed, but also to push them toward that those goals. Next slide, please. So the matching process. I talked earlier, I think I said something about timelines. Timelines are big with this, with the matching process. You want to, not only for the natural helper, but for the youth. You don't want this process to lose its steam. So when you get a natural helper that says, okay, I've been trained, I'm ready for my match, we need to get on that immediately so that natural helper doesn't lose that that steam to want to help. Same thing with that youth. When you have a youth that says, okay, I'm ready for that natural helper, I'm ready for someone to contact me, we want to make sure they get matched immediately, so that no one kind of forgets about it or loses that motivation. So what we will do is our natural helper coordinator, that's our staff, will discuss a possible match to prior to that family being contacted. And we have staff meetings every Tuesday. We talk about our youth referrals, and then also we talk about, hey, who's available and how do those interests match. And so we talk to the parent and guardian, and then we let them know that a natural helper has been identified. And once we do that and the family gives the okay, then we go ahead and give the information to the family, as well as the natural helper will get the family's information. So that way they can connect. We set up a time to meet, and a lot of times our natural helper coordinator, our staff, may go to that first meeting, and we call them meet and greets. And we might go to that. So if there's a soft handoff where conversations don't get awkward, or if you've got a new natural helper that maybe has never, met or been through this before, they have some guidance there as well. Typically we do this at maybe a park or one of our outings. Food's usually involved, so who doesn't like food and be able to kind of sit down and have a conversation. And it might not even be, hey, let's sit down and have a conversation type meeting. Your first outing might be, hey, let's go play frisbee golf, and get them involved that way. Because again, like I said, even like with having a conversation in the vehicle, sometimes you can have some really good conversations with someone going for a walk or doing an activity, instead of having that face to face, let's sit down and have a meeting. So next slide, please. So some of our expectations for our natural helpers and for our program, again, is that timeline. Once you receive, a natural helper receives a child's name and contact information, they need to make contact with that youth and that family within 1 week. Then we want you to have a meet and greet with that youth and family within 2 weeks. if not sooner. And then natural helper, we want them to stay in touch with that family and that youth on a weekly basis, and then have that consistent communication with our staff, the natural helper coordinator. Next, please. Like I said before, 6 months to 1 year commitment is big. 4 to 6 contacts with the youth and family monthly, if possible. Encourage the youth to reach their treatment goals. So we're right there, right along that with the probation officer, saying, "Hey, this is what you need to do. This is what we're going to help you with." Attend court hearings as needed. We've had natural helpers attend court hearings with that youth, and again, they're there as a support. They're there as a cheerleader. The other thing that we require is that our natural helpers complete at least 6 hours of continuing education yearly, and we provide those opportunities. So there's no reason why someone would not be able to complete those continuing education hours. And we provide the topics for them if they choose, but they also can go and attend training on their own. Next slide. So what can a natural helper expect from us? The support that we will receive, our staff. So we're here for the natural helpers. We want to make sure that we communicate with them to make sure that match is going well. We will be in touch also with the youth to see how that match is going. Our staff, we will let them know about different activities. We also will let them know on the court hearings for the youth. And then if there's any complex issues or situations that we need to get involved with, we will support that natural helper. For instance, we just had an issue this week where a natural helper, just had some concerns about maybe something, the condition of a home. And so we processed that with the natural helper and made some referrals and discussed some ways to help that family. Next slide. So again, just to touch base on confidentiality, our natural helpers come from all walks of life. So they may not know how the importance of confidentiality is. So we make sure that our natural helpers are trained and that, what's going on with that youth, that stays with them. It's not discussed out of any parameters that youth is involved in. Any information pertaining to the youth's family, the school, or the agency, it's confidential. You can't discuss it with anyone outside of the court. Next slide. And kind of along the same lines is boundaries. And these are just some examples, but taking a child to the mentor's home, we don't want that child going to the natural helper's home or their family events. So that's something we do not allow. Of course, giving legal advice or any kind of counseling. Placement arrangements, if that youth needed a new placement, that is not our natural helper's responsibility. Giving or receiving money or gifts to the child, family, or caregiver, and that's personal gifts. We don't want that. We do have opportunities with our program to be a part of Christmas parties or pizza parties or group activities, and that's okay. But personal gifts to that child, family, or caregiver is not allowed. Also, social media. So connecting with the parties, the youth, the family, via social media is not allowed. Also, even though we have the family sign releases and we are able to take pictures, we don't allow our natural helpers to post personal pictures on their social media, because it's again going back to that confidentiality. Next slide. So transportation, discussed it earlier, but we do allow our natural helpers to transport a child to and from activities. They just need to provide proof of insurance and also just continue to update us on proof of insurance. You know, we saw that a big hindrance to our youth getting out to activities is transportation. So if that natural helper can swing by and pick that youth up on the way, and then maybe afterwards returning them home, it's a great opportunity for the youth to get out of the home, and also it's just a peace of mind for us knowing that that youth is getting home. Entering of homes, at no time shall a natural helper enter the home of a youth when a parent or legal guardian is not present. So this even applies to, even if the youth says, it's okay, my mom will be here soon, you can come on in. That's not allowed. And then as we discussed, if a natural helper suspects a youth in danger, they can contact Children's Services. We always make sure that we are giving them the right information, so we allow them to contact Children's Services if needed. Next slide. Attire for our natural helpers. So, we discuss this with them. We have courtroom attire, home visits, and then we do have change of attire if needed for activities. We understand that, some activities, we did a bike ride this summer and it was 93 degrees out when we did the bike ride. So we understood if they had to wear shorts and a t-shirt, that was okay. But we would not expect that, of course, in our courtroom. And then, as I discussed earlier, social media, not only for our, do we, not allow our youth's pictures on folks' social media, but we also encourage our natural helpers to, make sure that you're not posting anything inappropriate on your social media. We don't police that, but it's just, kind of an expectation. These natural helpers are volunteers for a reason, and so we want to make sure that they are seen in a good light. Next slide. So our activities, we do allow our natural helpers can complete an activity on their own with that youth, as well as go to our monthly group sponsored activities. So every month we usually plan 2 group activities as a whole. Definitely encourage some dining opportunities when we do our group activities. The picture here we have teamed up with the hospital here. Dayton Children's actually has a nutrition class that we have our kids attend, and not only do they attend, but they do the cooking, and along with their natural helpers, they cook a meal, and they are encouraged to eat the meal after making it, and take a lot of Tupperware home and to feed their family. And I tell you, this is probably one of our most successful activities, is planning and preparing a meal. I've seen kids gain some great confidence knowing that they have prepared a meal. They've learned a lot, and we've had them coming back asking for giving suggestions on what they want to make next. So I know one kid wanted to make some seafood boil or something, and Dayton Children's, the staff there are wonderful, and they're like, you know what, we will work on that. So just that collaboration is wonderful to see, and those kids getting that opportunity to have a meal, and they're so proud of themselves taking that meal home to their family.
This one's always really popular, Kim, but the ice cream social is by far my most favorite. We do all kinds of things. Food is the central of a lot of our activities.
Yeah. And we love it because again, those kids, they get to go home with the leftovers, and family love it. So yeah. Collaborating with other volunteer opportunities. So we collaborate with our CASA program. So we get to do some great activities with them. And then also just building on that strength and interest of that youth. For instance, one of our youth is really into collecting Pokemon cards. And so we actually found a mentor, a natural helper that knew all about Pokemon cards. And that youth, it was kind of neat to see that youth open up, and all of a sudden a youth that probably hadn't said 3 words in an activity is now all about the Pokemon cards with their natural helper. And again, we have fun. We do have fun. And again, it's that pro-social positive light that we can have. Here's some other pictures that we did. Again, top left is our cooking class. Top right, we did a back to school drive. So we were able to get some items for back to school. Bottom left was fun. We actually did a Pinewood Derby. What was it? I can't remember what it was, Eric. The little box car derby. Sorry.
Derby.
Is that what? Pinewood Derby. It's been a while since, yes. That was fun. The kids learned and they designed their own cars. That was fun. And then let's see, bottom right is Christmas cookie decorating. We had a good time with that. And I tell you what, that was pretty messy, but the kids and their natural helpers really enjoyed that. And again, kids took stuff home. Some of our stats, in 2022, we trained 24 new natural helpers. We matched 66 new youth with a natural helper. And we provided them with 24 different group activities for the year, for the youth and for the family. Our goals, of course, we want to continue to grow our volunteer base, enhance our training opportunities for our natural helpers, and increase more activities for our youth and families. Just to mention, I think Eric touched on this about COVID, how COVID changed our program, our recruitment. That was tough. Our activities, of course, a lot of things were canceled. We also had the distance requirements, and then home visits. How could we do home visits when, it was a tough time. So we are still building from our recruitment. We do a monthly newsletter. We enjoy doing this, and I think this is for our natural helpers. Not only for our natural helpers, they get the newsletter, but different court staff and our partners in the community get this newsletter. So we really show what we're doing and what's coming up for the month to come. And that's it. Eric, do you have anything else that I missed on that?
One thing that's unique, and you heard Kim mention this a little bit, but as a court, we have combined our efforts to recruit and do all of our volunteer services under one unit that Kim heads up. So we have a very vibrant CASA program as well. So we're able to kind of do lots of tag team training as well as recruiting. And then we give volunteers an opportunity, or if they're interested in natural helping or mentoring, or if they're actually involved in getting into investigating in abuse, neglect, and dependency, they're signed up with CASA. So we work together, and all of those folks report to Kim as one team under volunteer services. So.
Yeah. We have a good group.
Yeah.
So we did have a question in chat, talking about how community members with lived experiences can make great natural helpers. But if they have a prior criminal record or things in their background, they won't be able to pass maybe a background check. What does your background check look at? And are you able to maybe make exceptions for people, or how does that work?
So we look at every background check individually. There are some that are absolute disqualifiers, typically high-level felony offenses of violence. We do also look at the age of an offense, but we also see value in credible messengers. So we have done some group mentoring projects with them rather than one-on-one, where we're able to have them speak to a group or participate in a group setting. Obviously, we have a responsibility to keep our kids as safe as possible, but we also value the input of somebody with lived experience. We think that that's extremely valuable. So we try to bend over backwards, especially for someone who just wants to give back. But we probably would avoid a one-on-one relationship whenever possible, depending on the charges, of course.
I think that's such a smart way to handle it. And I like that you're very thoughtful, but not excluding those folks.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that approach you've taken. Well, we're right here at the end of our time. So I'm going to bring up our evaluation so that folks can get that completed for us. I really admire very much the work that you're all doing in Montgomery County. I know it took a long time to get you to where you're at. And I also know you're available to answer questions for folks. So if you are out there and you're interested in starting your own kind of natural helpers program, these folks are happy to answer questions, to send you literature, to talk you through some of the process. It is something that you'll want to start out, small and grow. But I think it's definitely doable. It's amazing to think that you have, 4 staff. This is all they're doing out there is doing this work. All right, folks, you have on your screen right now our QR code for our evaluation. If you want to just take a quick picture of that and answer our questions, it's pretty short. We do really need to hear your feedback. It's important to us to make sure that we're adjusting our programming to meet your needs. It also is right now in the chat. So if you don't want to use your phone to do a QR code, you can click on that link. All right, and then I do want to remind everybody that we do have services at NCJ, FCJ, and NADCP. We are your technical assistance providers. We have training and technical assistance available to all of you via TTA 360. We have a listserv for you. We have quarterly newsletters. So please do feel free to sign up for anything like that captures your interest. All right. Once again, thank you so much, Eric and Kim. Really interesting hearing about the program. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.